Am I the a-hole for cutting back on work to prove a point to my wife? Original post. My 38 male wife, 30 female, is usually an angel of a woman, but has recently gotten into a friendship with a woman whom I personally believe is a bad influence on her. Not in a patronizing way, more of a lay down with dogs, get up with fleas type of situation. I never said anything about her childishness or her very radical misandry because frankly it doesn't affect me. Until it did. A few months ago, my wife began pressuring me to do more around the house. Before I get an instant "you're the a-hole," we already split chores and childcare. Admittedly, she had a bigger cut than I because she is a stay-at-home mom, but I do most of the cooking, breakfasts, and dinners. Lunch is her responsibility for her and the boys. I take out the garbage and I do laundry, and I deep clean the bathrooms once a week. I do also help with our boys' homework and such. She insists that I am not doing enough and that I should be doing more around the house. I tried having discussions with her, asking what she expected from me, namely all chores and child rearing should be my duty, it seems. And for months it seemed to be going nowhere. She used the divorce word more than once when speaking on this, which felt manipulative. It boiled over when we were out with friends one night, and she began talking about how I never helped out and how I use her as a house slave, her words. I will admit I saw red. This next part is where I may be the a-hole. I didn't say anything that night, but the next day I asked my boss to be given reduced hours for the next little bit, due to stress. And I took over everything in the house. I cooked breakfast and made lunch for the boys before I drove them to school. I cleaned the house top to bottom, I did every dish we had twice, and so on. My wife was blindingly happy and bragged to her friend that she finally had me worn in. She didn't lift a finger for around a month. Then she began asking why we never went on dates anymore and complaining that she wanted to get her nails done as they were growing in. I explained that I had to take that out of our budget so we could continue to afford everything else, but we could absolutely have a movie night in and I could paint her nails for her. She was unhappy with that solution, so I asked her if she would want to get a part-time job to pay for either luxuries. You would have thought I asked if she wanted to join a cult. She then asked if I could just pick up more shifts at work to cover her other expenses and used the phrase, "be a man," which I found more than a little insulting. I then asked her if she would be willing to go back to splitting the chores and such, which is when she began to catch on that the two were related. She yelled at me that I was being a manipulative a-hole for doing this, and even claimed it was financial abuse. I stood strong for a while, but now I am questioning my methods, because even I feel what I did was a bit underhanded. So am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Stay at home means you do most of the housework. I'm not sure why your wife doesn't understand that. Dude, you said that your wife is an angel. I'm not really seeing it. Threatening divorce to bludgeon you into doing more housework is a pretty big red flag. People seem to also be jumping to therapy when I wouldn't. Someone who jumps right to screaming divorce and abuse is not deserving of therapy. They're using empty threats to manipulate OP into doing what they want. Therapy isn't always a great idea either. For those looking to abuse or manipulate their partners, it can be a tool for them for better or more manipulation and abuse. Someone who is playing poker isn't going to show you their hand. A partner serious about divorce will seek out a lawyer, usually without telling the other. At the very least, they'll go for a real consult, whether or not they have papers drawn and or filed. Not the a-hole. You did what she asked. Reading stories like this really make me question if I want to get married. Keep questioning it. It's bloody hard work, lol. It shouldn't be with the right person. Work, yes, but not like that. It just takes communication and not being a freaking prick, lol. Not the a-hole. What the heck is with your wife? She expects you to work all day and do all the house chores and take care of the kids, while she uses your money to pamper herself? Her priorities are so wrong on so many levels. She lucky she ain't my wife. With that attitude and disrespect, I would have agreed to divorce and said I'll see you in court. First update. I have never been in a situation like this. I am a former addict myself, but I didn't have children then. See my last post for more clarification, but the gist of it is that my wife and I recently had a blowout argument where she admitted to using 2 substances for several months and has agreed to get checked into rehab, which we are currently setting up now. I was driving my wife to the rehabilitation center we decided on. On the way, she was screaming at me about how she can't believe I'm humiliating her like this, explaining what was happening to the boys and making her message her dealer/friend that they would not be hanging out or using together anymore. about how she doesn't want to go, and that I am a controlling monster, and how threatening her with divorce and taking primary custody of the boys was too far and I was insane. I just took it and took it and took it until I just couldn't. And I screamed at her. I screamed that the woman I met would have rather died than had a pillhead junkie around her sons, and how she disgusted me, and that I don't know if she knew how much I was considering leaving her. Not because of the addiction, but the way she was acting, like she hadn't brought drugs into our home. Around me, a former addict myself, and around our boys. That I am beginning to hate her for doing that. That she was becoming exactly what she always cried about her mother being, and that she was lucky I was here to see it before what happened to her goddamned sons. It makes me sick to say, but watching it sink in just how far she had spiraled felt good. Watching her realize that her actions have consequences was nice. She yelled a few more times that I was an abusive a-hole or whatever, but she was still crying, so I felt her heart wasn't in it. I plan on speaking to a lawyer. I don't want to divorce her, but I don't know how healthy our relationship could possibly be after this. I know yelling like that was wrong, but I don't feel bad. And that is the part that makes me think that maybe I shouldn't be married to her anymore, for her sake and my own. I don't know what else to do, and I'm so angry that she detonated C4 in every bit of our life. How the heck do I bring this up to the kids, without them being judgmental or hateful to their mother? Or worse, falling into the same mental space I am in? I don't want to lie to them, which is what my wife wants, but I am failing to see an alternative that won't destroy them or the respect they have for their mother. I am swimming blind here, and I have barely slept since this all came out. Any and all advice is appreciated. Thank you in advance. Info: what substances? Klonopin and Adipex that she was buying from her friend. She also admitted to having tried coke and several other prescription narcotics, but those were the only two she did often. Is this the same friend that turned her onto radical misandry? Yes, though it's come to light that it wasn't misandry she was being taught, but flagrant drug usage. I have told her that she goes no contact with this friend, or else she will be facing divorce along with everything else. Sad to say you might need to separate. If she's fighting you still on the way to rehab, then I don't see how rehab is going to change her perspective. And you know how long and hard addiction can be, and it sounds like she did too, but she still put herself and the rest of your family in that situation. I don't think trust can really be rebuilt after this. I believe I'm going to have to divorce her, and it's wrecking me. I don't want to. I still love her, but I don't know if I trust myself around her, and also not to use myself. I have been closer to relapsing this week than I ever have been. Do what you have to do for your children's sake. I'm sorry for you, a lot. I can't even fathom how heartbreaking this must be. Second update. Before you read, please know this is a vent post. I normally would never be like this, but I am beyond okay, and need to get this poison out of my head before I go anywhere else with it. She was freaking cheating. The dealer friend sent me videos of her dancing and grinding on this ugly hick-looking bastard. I am goddamn destroyed. The boys are staying with my mother for a few days, and I'm taking the next week off work. I am so done. I have never been so angry in my goddamned life. She was so goddamn smug sending it, saying, in case you don't realize you're replaceable to her. Well, the free ride stops here. I hope she can get on Medicaid for her Suboxone LMFAO. I'm done. I saved the video immediately, and I'm going to see a lawyer ASAP. I can't tell anyone yet, because I want to do this right. Thankful that my parents insisted on a prenup with what I at the time thought was an inhumane cheating clause. Never been cheated on before, and I feel like tearing my goddamned hair out. I genuinely never thought she would turn out to be such a scummy piece of trash. I cannot handle this. I am not physically able to handle this. I haven't been able to keep food down, and I drank for the first time in over a decade last night. Then I woke up and had to pour the rest down the drain because I am about to spiral, and my boys don't need both mom and dad in rehab right now. I am so close to losing my goddamned mind. Also, believe what you want, but stop sending me private messages about how I should take down the posts, or that posting about my personal relationship with my wife is wrong. Leave me be, it will not work. This is the only place I can talk about this. Damn, so sorry Opie. I've been following you from your first post. I know these hurts, but use it as final proof and push to do what you have to do. Your sons need you. Even if your wife has decided she truly wants help, she's not the person your sons need. But judging from her outburst on your way to rehab, she doesn't really want help. She's in too deep and hasn't hit rock bottom yet. You need to protect those boys at all costs. And sir, that means taking care of yourself as well. You poured the rest down the drain, that's good. But you need to eat. You need to get proper sleep. You need to contact whoever you need to contact for divorce and legal. You need to start making moves, and you need to immediately get yourself into therapy. Immediately. Your marriage is broken, your family is broken, your sobriety is broken, and you need solid professional help holding what you still have together while you work on fixing the rest of it, okay? You've got this. I know this man loves his wife. She will try to reconnect with him again, but don't fall for that trap. The worst part is, the only person who never saw this coming was you and your soon-to-be ex. Remember, because frankly it doesn't affect me? This is why as a couple, you need to have a veto on who is part of your life, and that includes each other's friends. These actions are almost satanic. This was the final piece of the dismantling of your life. This is how demons work through people around us. But ultimately, it's we who choose to walk through those doors. So does your wife know you have been sent the video? I think it's time you do some more investigating. Update 3. You can read my other posts for more context on what happened to get here if you like, but the short of it is, I was blind to my wife's addiction until she admitted it and went to rehab. While she was in rehab, I was sent evidence that she had been cheating, often, and with more than one person. I have been working on filing for divorce while she's in rehab, not just for the cheating, but because with that on top of everything else, and myself nearly sinking back into my own addiction due to the stress of the situation, I couldn't stand to even think of her anymore, and there's no healthy relationship that has room for that mindset. I honestly didn't want to be in a room with her again, to try mediation or counseling, due to the fact that the last time I was alone with her, I raised my voice, and at the time even felt she deserved it. I of course now know that me doing that was terrible and could be considered abuse. Yet another reason I should not be in a relationship with this woman. I moved all of her belongings to our guest room, minus the pills I found hidden in her bedside table. I took pictures of those in their hiding spot, then flushed them. I also removed her from my bank account and credit cards. I spoke to my boys, explaining the situation without demonizing their mother to the best of my ability, and they seemed to understand I have no intention of abandoning them, and blood or not, they were my sons. Then she came home. The boys were, and still are away at camp, a birthday present paid for by my mother. She was quiet, eyes on the ground after the moment I picked her up at the facility all the way home. Once we got home, I led her to the guest room silently, and she didn't take it well, crying before she could even take the first step. Throughout the next couple weeks, I let her get settled, and though I stayed carefully neutral, I know she could tell something was coming. But I wanted to be as fair as possible, and try to let her get used to being out before I said anything. As that was one thing I myself hated about when I left rehab, everything was flying at me so fast, I didn't have time to breathe. Finally, I asked her to sit on the couch, and I began explaining to her that I do not believe I can continue being married to her, and that I want a divorce. I should have known her reaction was all wrong. She didn't say anything at all. She only nodded and cried quietly as I spoke. I explained that I did not intend to hurt her, but I could not be married to her anymore, and that maybe both of us should focus on being the best parents we can be. I told her I had no intentions of kicking her out, and that because of our prenup, the divorce should be cut and dry, and she should be safe to begin looking for employment now. And once she has a job, I will help her find an apartment. At this, she stood and walked to her room. I let her, because I thought she must have been overwhelmed, and this talk could wait. She didn't come out at dinner time, and I weighed whether I should leave her alone or not. Eventually, I decided to knock on the door and ask if she was hungry. Long story short, she had smuggled pills into my house somehow, or she had a stash I was unaware of and had an overdose, and was gone for several minutes in the ambulance, and she's in a medically induced coma right now because the doctors aren't sure exactly how much damage she's done to her brain from what they've said. I feel like an absolute monster, like I am the scum of the earth. Like I should have just said nothing. Like I should have just dealt with it. Just held it in and stayed. I am responsible for this, and it kills me. I may not have the same love for her as I did, but I do feel so very sorry for everything she's been through. It's killing me. I haven't told my sons yet, and I am debating waiting until they're back from camp so they can have a little more time without this on their minds on top of everything else. You are not responsible. I am divorced. I asked for the divorce. He was upset but did not do anything. He didn't try to end himself. Thousands of people go through divorce every year without trying to end themselves. This is on her, not you. I understand why you feel guilty, but you did everything right. What else could you have done? Stayed married? Have a horrible marriage where you might have gone back to using too? Had horrible fights, and then she might have tried anyway? She isn't well, we both know that. But that is not your fault. Exactly. And if you'd succumb to your own addiction, who would the kids have? You did all of the right things. Sometimes you can't save a person from themselves, as tragic as that is. Damn. OP, you've had a real roller coaster of a trip, and after reading over your posts, I just hope you may find some peace and courage for your happiness. For you, I am praying. Is your idea that you would spend your life walking on tiptoes so she didn't make yet another bad decision? I feel for her, I really do. Things are not good for her right now. But you're not inflicting the consequences of her decisions on her. You're taking care of yourself and your sons as a consequence of her behavior. You will get through this. Breathe in, breathe out, one foot in front of the other. Repeat. And again, you've got this. You're not responsible, but telling her you're divorcing her the moment she got home from rehab is an a-hole move. I'm not actually sure what you expected. Does she not have any family? She needs a support system right now. I wanted to do it while she's in rehab, but my therapist told me to reconsider, so I did. I was so angry when I found out about the cheating that I wanted to take her belongings to her dealer's house and leave them there, but I knew that was wrong. I knew that once my anger wore off, I would regret it. So now all I want to get the divorce started and over with as soon as possible so that I can begin trying to pick up the pieces and move on with my life. On top of that, I didn't want to lead her on, and I could tell that she knew something was coming because I can't even stand her touching me anymore. It makes me physically ill. If I had known she was going to end herself, I could have closed my eyes and grit my teeth and let her do whatever. But honestly, even now after what she did, I know that isn't feasible for me. I still found myself wanting to start fights, to yell, and I know that I am not a strong enough person to be in a relationship with someone who hurt me that much, who disrespected me, my home, and my children that much, who took my own past experiences with substances into account so little that she brought them into my home, directly under the nose of myself and my children. This is as much kindness as I can afford to extend to her anymore, for my own mental health's sake.